Listen, chosen one. You didn't click on this by accident. Right now, the universe is settling accounts, and your name just moved to the top of the ledger. Everything stolen from you, every opportunity blocked, every betrayal, every moment they made you feel small, it's all being calculated. And the payback? It's not coming back equal. It's coming back multiplied, tenfold. This is your divine reversal, and it's already in motion. Hit like, subscribe, and drop "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this shift moving through you right now. The Cosmic Ledger just opened with your name highlighted. You know that feeling you've been carrying lately? That strange sense that something massive is shifting behind the scenes. You're not imagining it. The universe keeps precise records, and for years it's been watching what happened to you. Every person who smiled to your face while sabotaging you behind your back. Every opportunity that mysteriously vanished right before it reached your hands. Every time someone took credit for your work, minimized your worth, or made you question your own value. None of it disappeared. It was all recorded. The Cosmic Ledger doesn't operate on human timelines. It doesn't care about excuses or explanations. It measures intention, not words. It weighs emotional impact, not appearances. And right now, that ledger is balancing itself in your favor. The people who played games with your energy are suddenly facing consequences they can't explain. Disruptions appearing from nowhere. Plans collapsing for no clear reason. Pressure building in their lives that feels strangely connected to you, even though you're not doing anything. That's because their debt to you is being collected. The universe doesn't forget emotional currency. Think about every time someone undermined you in a meeting, knowing you couldn't defend yourself in that moment. Remember when they whispered doubts about you to people who mattered, planting seeds of suspicion before you even knew there was a problem. Recall those moments when your ideas were dismissed, only to be praised when someone else presented them weeks later. Each instance created an entry in the ledger, not just the action itself, but the weight it placed on your spirit, the confidence it chipped away, the momentum it stole. The universe has been tracking it all with precision that exceeds human accounting. It measured the nights you couldn't sleep because of what they did. It weighed the tears you cried in private. It calculated the dreams you postponed because doors were slammed in your face. It recorded the relationships that fractured because of lies told about you. It noted every moment you had to rebuild yourself from scratch because someone decided to tear you down. And now the bill is due. Not because you're seeking revenge. You're not even thinking about most of these people anymore. But cosmic law doesn't require your participation to enforce itself. Justice doesn't wait for your permission to balance the scales. The universe operates on principles that existed long before you were born, and one of those principles is simple. Energy returns to its source. The same people who thought they got away with it are discovering that getting away with it was just a delayed payment plan. What felt like victory to them was actually interest accumulating on a debt they didn't know they owed. And that interest has been compounding this entire time. Every day, they continued in their deception, added weight to what would eventually come back to them. Every moment they celebrated your struggle, while knowing they caused it multiplied the consequences waiting in their future. You might have noticed some of them acting strangely lately. Maybe they've reached out after years of silence, their messages carrying an undertone of nervousness they're trying to mask with casual conversation. Perhaps you've heard through mutual connections that their lives have hit unexpected turbulence. Job losses that made no sense, relationships imploding without clear cause, health issues arising from stress they can't identify. They're confused because from their perspective, these problems appeared randomly, But you know better. These aren't random events. These are energetic debts being collected with precision timing. The universe doesn't just settle accounts, it does so with an exactness that reflects the original violation. Someone who blocked your financial opportunity finds their own money flowing out in ways they can't control. Someone who sabotaged your reputation watches their own credibility crumble despite their best efforts to maintain appearances. Someone who poisoned a relationship you valued discovers their own connections falling apart with the same sudden devastation they inflicted on you. The cosmic ledger doesn't just balance, it mirrors. While they face consequences, your blocked blessings are breaking free. Here's what's happening on your side while their world contracts. Those blessings that were blocked, delayed, or redirected away from you. They didn't evaporate. They've been building pressure. Think of a dam holding back water. The longer it's held, the more force accumulates behind it. That's your blessings right now. They've been gathering strength, momentum, and magnitude this entire time. You're about to experience acceleration that defies normal timing. Things that should take years will happen in months. Doors that were locked will swing open before you even knock. You'll find yourself in rooms you never applied to enter, having conversations you never arranged, receiving offers nobody told you were coming. This isn't luck. This is the universe correcting an imbalance that grew too large to ignore. Consider what happens when water is held behind a dam for years. The pressure builds incrementally, day by day, until the force behind that barrier becomes massive. When the dam finally opens, the water doesn't trickle out, it explodes forward with accumulated power. Your blessings have been in that exact state. Every day they were blocked, they gained force. Every month they were delayed, they gathered companions. Every year they were withheld, they multiplied. What's coming toward you now carries the momentum of everything that should have reached you over the past several years. That job opportunity you were perfect for, but somehow didn't get. It's returning as multiple opportunities, each one better than the original. That business partnership that fell through at the last minute, it's being replaced by connections with people whose resources and vision dwarf what that first partnership would have provided. That recognition you deserved, but was given to someone less qualified. It's coming back as acknowledgement from sources that carry far more weight and reach than the original ever would have. The acceleration you're about to experience doesn't follow natural law, it follows spiritual law. And spiritual law says that when barriers are removed, delayed blessings don't just arrive, they rush in. You might find yourself signing contracts you weren't even negotiating last month. You might discover invitations arriving for events you didn't know existed. You might experience financial increases that have no logical explanation based on your current circumstances. People around you will struggle to make sense of how things are moving so fast for you suddenly. They'll ask what you did differently, what strategy you employed, what connection you leveraged. And the truth is, you didn't do anything different. What changed wasn't your action. What changed was the universal decision that your waiting period has ended. The dam has been opened, the pressure has been released. And now everything held back is flooding toward you with compounded force. You might have felt it already. That sudden clarity, that unexpected confidence, that inner knowing that something massive is approaching. You're not making it up. You're sensing the shift before it fully materializes. Your spirit picks up on energy movements before your physical reality reflects them. That feeling you've been carrying isn't hope or wishful thinking. It's prophetic awareness. It's your soul recognizing that the atmospheric pressure around your life has fundamentally changed. The blockage is breaking, the dam is opening, and what's coming through isn't a trickle, it's a flood designed specifically for your capacity. The universe knows exactly how much you can hold now because it watched you expand during those years of waiting. It saw you develop emotional strength during seasons of loss. It witnessed you building mental fortitude during periods of delay. It observed you cultivating spiritual depth during times of isolation. You were being prepared to carry weight you couldn't have held before, and now that you can hold it, it's being released to you. What returns isn't what left. It's been upgraded. Pay attention to this. The universe doesn't return things in their original form. It upgrades them. That stolen opportunity you cried over 3 years ago. It's coming back, but not as the same chance. It's returning as something bigger, better suited to who you've become. That connection that fell apart. It's being replaced by relationships 10 times more solid, more genuine, more aligned with your truth. Lost time is returning as accelerated momentum. Withheld money is returning through unexpected channels that bypass the people who blocked it. Betrayed trust is returning as unshakable loyalty from people whose integrity matches your own. The payback isn't about evening the score. It's about overflow, multiplication, restoration, plus interest you never calculated. Think about it. When you were held back, you didn't just lose the opportunity. You lost time, confidence, peace of mind, and momentum. The universe is accounting for all of it. The return covers everything the original theft cost you, plus the growth you achieved despite it. Let's break down what this upgrade actually means in practical terms. When that business deal fell through 3 years ago, you lost more than the money it would have generated. You lost the timeline you had planned. You lost the confidence boost that success would have provided. You lost the connections that deal would have opened. You lost the momentum that would have carried you into the next opportunity. The universe is calculating all of those losses. So when the upgrade comes, it's not just replacing the money from that deal. It's replacing the money plus the timeline acceleration you lost, plus the confidence restoration, plus the connections that deal would have created, plus the momentum that would have followed. The return is comprehensive. It addresses every dimension of what was taken, not just the obvious surface level. That relationship that ended in betrayal. When it's replaced, you're not just getting another relationship. You're getting a connection with someone whose loyalty was tested and proven before they even met you. You're getting someone whose integrity is foundational to their character, not situational. You're getting a bond that starts at a depth level it took years to reach in your previous relationship. Except this time, that depth is the foundation, not the ceiling. The job you were denied after 3 rounds of interviews. When the upgrade comes, you're not just getting a similar position. You're getting a role with better compensation, stronger leadership, clearer growth trajectory, and organizational culture that actually matches your values. You're getting a situation where your contributions are recognized immediately, not after years of proving yourself. You're getting positioned in a company that's ascending while your old target company is stagnating. This is how divine restoration works. It doesn't take you back to where you would have been. It takes you to where you should have been if the theft had never occurred, and accounts for the growth you achieved by pushing forward despite the loss. The math is exponential, not linear. Consider someone who stole your idea and profited from it. When your restoration comes, you're not just getting that same idea back. You're getting access to bigger ideas, better execution resources, stronger team support, and market conditions that are more favorable than when the theft occurred. You're getting positioned to create impact that makes the stolen idea look insignificant in comparison. The universe isn't interested in making things equal. It's interested in making things right. And making things right means you receive exponentially more than what was taken. The upgrade also addresses the emotional and spiritual dimensions of what you lost. When trust was broken, you didn't just lose a person. You lost a sense of safety, a belief in your ability to read people accurately, and a willingness to be vulnerable. The restoration brings people into your life who rebuild that safety naturally through consistent, trustworthy behavior. It brings situations that restore your confidence in your discernment. It brings connections that make vulnerability feel natural again because the receiving party honors what you share. This is why you shouldn't be looking for what you lost to come back in the form you remember. That form was designed for who you were then. The upgrade is designed for who you are now. It fits your expanded capacity, your heightened awareness, your deeper wisdom, and your stronger foundation. What's coming matches your current frequency, not your past frequency. And because your frequency has risen significantly through the trials you've endured, what you receive will be calibrated to that higher level. They didn't just block you, they forged you into something unbreakable. Here's the truth about that painful season you went through. It wasn't wasted time. When everything went silent and you felt isolated, you were being recalibrated. Your intuition sharpened when all the noise disappeared. You learned to read energy instead of words, to sense intentions before seeing actions. That forced solitude gave you a superpower most people never develop. Every door that slammed in your face built your resilience. Each betrayal taught you discernment. Each disappointment strengthened your internal foundation. You weren't just surviving, you were being forged. The universe removed everyone and everything that would have kept you at your old level. It cleared the path so nothing from your past could interfere with where you're going. Those people who abandoned you, they couldn't have handled this next chapter anyway. Those opportunities that disappeared, they would have kept you small. The universe wasn't punishing you with those losses. It was protecting your future from your past. Now you're standing here with capacities you didn't have before. Strength you've tested, wisdom you've earned, vision you've clarified. You're not the same person who experienced those losses, which is exactly why the returns won't look the same either. Let's talk about what actually happened during those silent seasons when nothing seemed to be moving. On the surface, it appeared like stagnation. It felt like abandonment. It looked like you were being left behind while others advanced. But beneath that surface, in dimensions you couldn't see, intensive work was being done on you. When all the noise faded and you found yourself in that uncomfortable silence, your relationship with yourself fundamentally changed. You couldn't distract yourself with other people's voices anymore. You couldn't avoid the questions that needed answering by staying busy with external activities. You were forced into a confrontation with your own thoughts, patterns, fears, and truths. That confrontation was necessary. In that silence, you began hearing whispers you'd been ignoring for years, intuitive nudges that got drowned out by louder, more immediate concerns. Inner guidance that couldn't break through while you were surrounded by conflicting opinions. Your own wisdom that needed space to emerge. The silence wasn't emptiness. It was clarity training. It was your spirit learning to recognize its own voice amid a world that constantly tries to speak over it. You started noticing things you'd been blind to before, how certain people's energy felt when they entered a room, how your body responded to different environments, how your gut reacted before your mind could rationalize what was wrong. These weren't new abilities. They were always there, but they were buried under layers of conditioning that taught you to trust external validation over internal knowing. The isolation stripped away those layers. Every closed door during that season served a specific purpose. That job rejection that devastated you. It kept you from locking yourself into a position that would have stunted your growth and consumed 5 years before you realized you'd made a mistake. That friendship that dissolved, it removed someone whose presence in your life would have prevented you from meeting the people who are about to enter. That romantic relationship that ended, it freed you from a dynamic that would have drained the energy you need for what's coming next. But the doors weren't just closing to remove the wrong things. They were closing to force you to develop capacities you'd never needed before. When you couldn't rely on a particular person anymore, you had to discover your own strength in that area. When you couldn't fall back on a familiar opportunity, you had to develop creativity and resourcefulness. When you couldn't depend on external validation, you had to build self-trust from the inside out. This process created something in you that can't be taken away. External opportunities can be blocked, relationships can be severed, resources can be stolen. But the internal structures you built during those closed-door seasons, those are permanent. They travel with you. They don't require favorable circumstances to function. They work regardless of what's happening around you. You discovered you could survive grief without falling apart. You learned you could face rejection without losing your sense of self. You proved you could stand alone without being destroyed by loneliness. You showed yourself you could keep moving forward even when encouragement was absent. These aren't small achievements. These are massive victories that most people never test because they're never forced into positions where those capacities must emerge or they'll break. The betrayals you experienced weren't just painful, they were educational. Each one taught you something specific about human nature, motivation, and behavior that you couldn't have learned any other way. You learned that some people smile at you not because they like you, but because they're monitoring you. You learned that support can be conditional even when it appears absolute. You learned that proximity doesn't equal loyalty. You learned that flattery can mask envy. You learned that silence sometimes speaks louder than confrontation. These lessons created discernment that functions like a sophisticated security system for your life. You can now detect ulterior motives from subtle cues. You recognize manipulation tactics before they fully deploy. You sense when someone's interest in you is extractive rather than genuine. This discernment protects you from repeating old patterns and from entertaining new versions of old problems. The disappointments you endured built something most people lack: emotional shock absorption. When things don't go as planned now, you don't shatter. When unexpected problems arise, you don't spiral. When loss occurs, you don't collapse. You've learned to metabolize disappointment without letting it poison your system. You process it, learn from it, and keep moving. This ability alone is worth more than most external achievements because it means you can't be easily broken by changing circumstances. During those seasons of scarcity, emotional, financial, or relational, you learned something crucial about yourself. You can generate from within what you once thought you needed from without. When emotional support was absent, you learned to encourage yourself. When financial resources were limited, you learned to create value from what you had. When connection was scarce, you learned to find wholeness in solitude. This isn't just resilience, it's self-sufficiency at a spiritual level. You also learned to distinguish between surface-level connections and soul-level bonds. When everything fell away, you saw who remained. You witnessed who checked on you without needing something in return. You observed who showed up during the boring, hard parts of your life versus who only appeared for celebrations. This clarity about human character is priceless. It saves you from wasting time, energy, and resources on people who will abandon you the moment your usefulness expires. The isolation taught you something else that most people never grasp. Your presence matters. When you withdrew from certain spaces and relationships, the absence of your energy created noticeable voids. People began to realize what they'd taken for granted. Environments you used to frequent felt different without you. Dynamics you used to balance fell apart when you stopped participating. Your absence taught others a lesson about your value that your presence couldn't convey. All of this forging happened in silence, away from applause, without witnesses. Nobody saw you rebuilding yourself at 3 a.m. Nobody observed the private victories when you chose hope over bitterness. Nobody recorded the moments when you decided to keep going, despite having every reason to quit. But the universe saw it all, and the universe keeps records. Now you're standing on the other side of that forge with capacities that make you nearly unbreakable. You've tested your own resilience and found it holds under pressure. You've proven your ability to adapt when circumstances shift suddenly. You've demonstrated emotional intelligence that comes only from processing real pain without becoming poisoned by it. You've developed spiritual muscles that only grow through resistance. The people who blocked you didn't just fail to stop your progress. They inadvertently contributed to creating someone far more formidable than the person they tried to diminish. They pushed you into a forge that transformed you into something they can no longer comprehend or control. And ironically, the very actions they took to keep you small are directly responsible for the magnitude of what you're about to become. Your energy just became expensive to access. Something shifted in your frequency recently. You probably felt it but couldn't name it. There's now an invisible boundary around you that wasn't there before. People who used to walk into your life carelessly now hesitate. They sense something different, something that costs more than they're willing to pay. The spiritual price tag on your energy went up. Not because you're arrogant, but because your vibration elevated. You can't be handled casually anymore. People who approach you with wrong intentions feel uncomfortable before they even speak. Those who come with half-truths find themselves unable to maintain the conversation. Your presence now filters people automatically. Meanwhile, those who dismissed you are noticing your absence. They can't articulate it, but something feels off in spaces where you used to be. Conversations aren't as vibrant. Energy feels flatter. They took your light for granted, and now they're sitting in the dimness they created. You don't need to do anything about this. The universe installed these boundaries for you. Even if you wanted to lower them, they hold firm. Situations that used to drain you can't reach you anymore. People who used to pull your energy find themselves cut off before they get close. It's like you're being shielded by an invisible force that operates in the background of your daily life. Let's examine what's actually happening here. Your energy field, the electromagnetic signature you emit, has undergone a fundamental transformation. It's denser now, more coherent, more structured. During those difficult seasons, as you processed pain without becoming bitter, as you maintained integrity despite witnessing corruption, as you chose growth over comfort repeatedly, your energy field crystallized into something far more refined than it was before. This refinement creates an automatic filtering system. Lower frequency energies can't penetrate your field as easily now. When someone approaches you with manipulative intent, their energy encounters your field and experiences resistance before any words are even exchanged. They feel this resistance as discomfort, awkwardness, or an inexplicable sense that they can't get close to you. They're not being rejected by your conscious choice. They're being repelled by energetic incompatibility. Think of it like a security system that runs on frequency detection rather than facial recognition. When someone whose energy carries deception, exploitation, or manipulation approaches your field, alarms go off at a level they can perceive but can't consciously understand. They feel suddenly nervous around you. They stumble over their words more than usual. They find excuses to end conversations prematurely. They're responding to signals their conscious mind can't interpret, but their subconscious receives clearly. This person's energy is too calibrated for your games. Meanwhile, people whose energy carries authenticity, goodwill, and genuine interest find interacting with you easier than ever. Your field doesn't resist theirs, it resonates with theirs. Conversations flow naturally. Silences feel comfortable rather than awkward. There's an ease to the interaction that both parties notice but might not comment on. This is energetic alignment functioning in real time. The people who once had easy access to your energy are now discovering that access has been revoked. They can't pinpoint when it happened or why, but they feel the distance. Maybe you still interact with them occasionally, but something fundamental has changed. The depth is gone, the warmth has cooled, the availability has ended. They're experiencing the withdrawal of your energetic investment, and it's creating a void they didn't realize your presence was filling. Some of them are sitting in that void right now, trying to understand what changed. They might blame you for being different or distant, but the truth is simpler. You stopped making yourself available to people who didn't value your availability. You stopped giving your energy to situations that drained it without replenishing it. You stopped allowing people to occupy space in your life without earning it. This wasn't a decision you made consciously through anger or resentment. It was an automatic adjustment your energy field made to protect your rising frequency. The interesting part is that even when you consciously try to lower these new boundaries, they don't budge. You might think, I should reach out to that person, or I should give that situation another chance. But when you attempt to act on those thoughts, you find yourself unable to follow through. The text message sits unsent. The phone call doesn't happen. The meeting gets postponed indefinitely. Your higher self has installed protection protocols that your conscious mind can't override. This boundary establishment is particularly noticeable in situations that used to drain you. That friend who only called when they needed something, they can't seem to reach you now. Your phone is on, your messages work, but somehow their attempts to contact you seem to dissolve into the void. That work situation that siphoned your energy without acknowledgement, it's resolving itself, or you're being moved away from it without having to force anything. That family dynamic that guilted you into overextending yourself, the guilt doesn't work anymore. You feel it attempting to hook you, but it can't find purchase. Other people are noticing something else. When they interact with you now, they become more aware of themselves. Your presence acts like a mirror that shows them their own energy. If they're carrying deception, they feel that deception more acutely when you're around. If they're operating with ulterior motives, those motives seem more obvious to them in your presence. If they're being dishonest, that dishonesty weighs heavier when they're near you. You're not doing this intentionally. Your clarified energy field simply reflects back what people are projecting. This creates a fascinating dynamic. Genuine people feel more comfortable around you, while inauthentic people feel more exposed. Those operating with integrity find your presence stabilizing. Those operating with manipulation find your presence unsettling. You don't have to question people's intentions anymore. Their comfort or discomfort around you tells you everything you need to know. The absence of your energy in certain spaces is creating unexpected ripples. Group dynamics you used to balance are falling apart because the stabilizing force, you, is no longer participating. Projects you used to elevate with your contributions are producing mediocre results now that your input is gone. Conversations you used to enrich with your perspective feel shallower without your voice. People are realizing, too late, that your presence was doing more heavy lifting than they acknowledged. Some of them are trying to re-establish access now. They're reaching out with sudden interest, asking how you've been, suggesting you reconnect. But here's what they're discovering. The access doesn't work the same anymore. Where they once got immediate responses and full availability, they now get delayed replies and limited engagement. Where they once received emotional energy and mental investment, they now receive polite but distant interactions. The door isn't fully closed, but it's no longer wide open, and the casual privilege they once enjoyed has been revoked. This shift isn't something you're doing to punish anyone. It's an organic adjustment happening because your energy has evolved beyond certain frequencies. Just like outgrowing clothes that no longer fit, you've outgrown energetic dynamics that no longer serve you. The difference is that while you can force yourself into clothes that are too small, you can't force your energy to tolerate frequencies that are beneath its current calibration. Your field simply won't allow it. What makes this particularly powerful is the effortlessness of it. You're not maintaining these boundaries through constant vigilance. You're not guarding your energy with aggressive defense. The boundaries exist and enforce themselves regardless of your conscious attention. You can focus on moving forward, creating, building, and expanding because your energy field is handling protection protocols automatically in the background. The people who played in the dark are being dragged into the light watch. What's happening to those who worked against you in secret? They're exposing themselves without meaning to. Small slips in their stories, contradictions they don't catch, reactions that reveal what they tried to hide. Their masks are cracking, and truth is leaking through the fractures. You're not doing this. Their own actions are betraying them. When you ask them a simple question, they stumble. When something good happens for you, their face tightens in ways they can't control. When they think nobody's watching, their real feelings show. The energy they sent toward you with negative intention is bouncing back like a boomerang. Nothing they aimed at you sticks anymore. Your aura has become too smooth for their projections to latch onto. Instead, everything they threw returns to them with more force than it left. Some are already distancing themselves because they sense they've lost control. They feel the shift, and it makes them uneasy. They're stepping back not because you push them away, but because they realize they can no longer manipulate what happens around you. Their withdrawal is a confession they'll never speak out loud. Your clarity about all this is razor sharp now. You see patterns you used to miss. You notice who only shows up when they need something. You catch the subtle ways people monitor you versus genuinely care about you. You don't guess anymore. You know. The fog that covered certain relationships has lifted, leaving clean lines where there used to be blur. Let's talk about what's actually unfolding here. The people who operated from shadows, those who smiled at you while plotting behind your back, who praised you publicly while undermining you privately, who pretended alliance while feeding information to your competitors. They're being exposed through their own behavior, not through your accusations or efforts to call them out, but through cosmic law asserting itself in ways they can't dodge. Here's how it manifests. They start contradicting themselves without realizing it. In one conversation, they'll say one thing, and weeks later, they'll say something completely opposite, forgetting who heard what. The lies they told to different people about you start colliding when those people compare notes. The persona they maintain for one audience clashes with the persona they show another audience, and when those audiences overlap, the inconsistency becomes glaring. Their reactions betray them in moments they think are safe. Someone mentions your name in a group setting, and their face does something they can't control, a micro-expression of irritation, envy, or discomfort that flashes across their features before they can mask it. Good news about your progress makes them respond with forced enthusiasm that everyone in the room can sense isn't genuine. They congratulate you, but the energy behind the words feels hollow, strained, reluctant. People who witness these moments might not consciously analyze what they're seeing, but subconsciously they're filing away data about this person's true character. The most interesting exposures happen when they forget you're there or forget to maintain the act. They'll speak critically about someone else, in terms that reveal how they actually think about people in general, including you. They'll display attitudes towards success, loyalty, or integrity that contradict the values they claim to hold. These slips create openings where perceptive observers can see through the facade to the operational principles guiding their actual behavior. Meanwhile, the energy they sent your way with malicious intent is returning to them with compounded force. When they tried to block your opportunities, they created energetic blockages in their own path that they're now encountering. When they spread doubt about your capabilities, they planted seeds of doubt that are now sprouting in their own reputation. When they celebrated your setbacks, they invited setbacks into their own journey that arrive with perfect timing to disrupt their plans. This isn't karma in some vague, mystical sense. This is energy physics. What you put out into the field returns to you because energetic systems naturally seek equilibrium. When someone directs negative energy toward another person, that energy carries their signature. If the target's field is too refined to accept that energy, which yours now is, the energy has nowhere to go except back to its source. It returns like an unopened package, stamped wrong address, except it doesn't arrive empty. It brings accumulated charge from the journey. You can see this happening in their lives if you pay attention. The colleague who took credit for your work finds their own work being scrutinized more heavily, and suddenly their incompetence becomes obvious to leadership. The friend who betrayed your trust experiences betrayal from someone they trusted, delivered with the same casualness they showed when betraying you. The person who spread lies about you discovers people are believing lies about them, and now they understand how it feels to be wrongly accused without the ability to defend yourself effectively. Some of them are becoming paranoid, sensing that something has shifted but unable to identify what. They feel increasingly uncomfortable around you, even though you're not doing anything different. Your presence makes them hyper-aware of their own deception. When they're near you, their lies feel heavier. Their manipulation tactics feel more obvious. Their ulterior motives seem harder to hide. They leave interactions with you feeling exposed, even though you never accuse them of anything. This exposure extends beyond direct interactions. Their behavior patterns are becoming more obvious to observers. The people they fooled before are starting to see inconsistencies. The manipulation tactics that worked seamlessly in the past are now leaving visible tracks. The charming persona they maintained is showing cracks that reveal something less appealing underneath. And they don't understand why. They're doing the same things they always did. But suddenly, those things aren't working the same way. What's actually changed is that your elevation has altered the energetic environment around you. When your frequency rose, it affected the field you operate in. That field includes the people connected to you, the situations involving you, and the dynamics where you play a role. As your energy clarified, it became less tolerant of distortion. Truth has an easier time emerging in your presence now. Deception has a harder time maintaining itself. It's like you're emitting a frequency that acts as a lie detector, even though you're not trying to. The silent saboteurs are also facing a specific problem. Their methods don't work on you anymore. The tactics they used to throw you off balance just slide off now. The emotional manipulation that once hooked you can't find purchase anymore. The guilt trips that used to redirect your decisions have lost their power. The subtle undermining that used to make you second-guess yourself bounces off your newfound certainty. They're discovering that their entire playbook has become obsolete where you're concerned. This forces some of them into a crisis. Their sense of control was built on their ability to influence your emotions, decisions, or trajectory. Without that influence, they feel powerless, and powerlessness makes people act desperately, so they might escalate, try more obvious manipulation, make more direct attempts to regain control, push boundaries they used to respect. But these escalations only expose them faster because desperation makes people sloppy. Others are choosing a different route: distance. They're removing themselves from your orbit because they recognize they can no longer operate effectively there. This withdrawal is strategic for them, but beneficial for you. They're essentially self-selecting out of your life, doing the work of boundary enforcement that you would have eventually had to do yourself. Their departure clears space that will shortly be filled by people who operate at your new frequency. Your ability to see all this clearly is one of the most valuable upgrades from your journey. You're not paranoid, constantly suspicious, or seeing enemies where there are none. You're simply aware. You notice patterns. You trust your observations. When someone's actions don't match their words repeatedly, you don't gaslight yourself into believing their words. You believe their actions. When someone's energy feels off, you don't talk yourself out of that feeling. You honor it as information. This clarity protects you from recycling old dynamics. You can spot the same game being played by different players. You recognize manipulation patterns regardless of how they're packaged. You see ulterior motives even when they're wrapped in friendly gestures. This doesn't make you cynical, it makes you discerning. You can still be open to genuine connections while maintaining healthy skepticism toward questionable ones. The exposures happening around you serve another purpose. They're teaching everyone in your orbit about the consequences of operating from shadow. People who witnessed how others treated you are now watching those same people experience their own consequences. This creates a ripple effect of awareness. Observers learn that hidden actions eventually surface, that betrayal carries a price, that what's done in darkness eventually meets light. The silent saboteurs are being revealed not just to you, but to everyone who needs to see their true nature. The universe is ensuring that their masks don't just crack in private. They crack in contexts where the revelation serves a larger purpose. Their exposure becomes education for others, warning signs for future potential victims, and public record of their operational methods. Signs are stacking up, too perfectly to ignore messages. arriving right after you think about someone. The same number sequence appearing everywhere you look. Unexpected confirmations showing up exactly when you questioned your direction. These aren't coincidences. They're coordinates. The universe is speaking in symbols only you were meant to decode. Delays that used to stretch for months now dissolve in days. Waiting periods that once felt endless are compressing into manageable time frames. Obstacles shrink before they fully form. Complications unravel themselves before you have to deal with them. It's like time itself is refusing to slow you down anymore. Your frequency no longer allows stagnation to stick. Opportunities are coming to you instead of you chasing them. The right people appear without you searching. Conversations flow without you forcing them. Connections form from pure timing rather than networking. There's an ease to it all that feels almost supernatural, because it is. Something else is happening too. Situations or people that would have distracted you are vanishing before they can leave a mark. Meetings get cancelled that would have wasted your time. Invitations fall through that would have entangled you in drama. You're being redirected away from anything that doesn't match your frequency before it can slow your momentum. Let's examine these synchronicities more closely, because they're not random occurrences. They're confirmation that your path has become visible to forces beyond ordinary perception. When you think of someone and they contact you moments later, that's not telepathy in the mystical sense. That's both of you tapping into the same energetic frequency at the same moment, responding to a shared signal neither of you consciously detected. The number sequences you keep seeing, whether it's 111, 222, 444, or whatever pattern keeps appearing, those are frequency markers. They're appearing in your awareness because you're now vibrating at a level where you notice patterns that were always there but previously invisible to you. It's like suddenly being able to see infrared light that existed all along, but required special receptors to perceive. Your consciousness has developed those receptors. When confirmations arrive at the exact moment you are doubting yourself, that precision isn't accidental. You're operating in a state of alignment where your questions and their answers exist in the same moment, separated only by your willingness to perceive both simultaneously. The confirmation was there before you asked the question. You're just now reaching the vibrational level where you can receive it. The compression of time you're experiencing is particularly fascinating. Delays that would have stretched for months are now resolving in days because your resistance to outcomes has decreased. Most delays aren't caused by external factors. They're caused by internal misalignment. When you're internally conflicted about what you want, the universe can't deliver it clearly. But when your internal state becomes coherent, when every part of you agrees on the direction, the timeline collapses. What needed months to coordinate around your mixed signals now happens in days because your signal is clean. Obstacles are shrinking before they fully materialize because you're encountering them at an earlier point in their formation. Your heightened awareness allows you to sense problems when they're still in energetic form, before they solidify into material problems. At that early stage, obstacles are much easier to dissolve. It's the difference between catching a small flame versus fighting a forest fire. Both are fire problems, but the intervention point changes everything. Complications that used to tangle your progress are unraveling themselves because your energy is no longer feeding them. Many complications persist because our attention, worry, or resistance gives them energy to continue. When you stop feeding them, not through avoidance, but through genuine non-attachment to their outcome, they lose the energy source sustaining them. They unravel naturally, the way a knot loosens when you stop pulling the rope tight. The opportunities approaching you without pursuit represent a fundamental shift in how manifestation is working in your life. Previously, you operated in a paradigm where you had to seek, convince, pursue, and prove yourself to access opportunities. That paradigm was necessary when your energy was still developing. But now that your energy has matured, it broadcasts its own signal. Opportunities that match your frequency detect that signal and move toward it. You're no longer chasing, you're attracting. And attraction is always more efficient than pursuit. The right people appearing in your path without deliberate networking is another indicator of energetic magnetism functioning in your life. These people are being drawn by the same force that's drawing opportunities, your clarified frequency. They're not showing up because you put yourself in strategic positions or deployed clever tactics. They're showing up because they're meant to be part of your next chapter, and timing has aligned your paths at the precise moment both of you are ready for the connection. These conversations that flow effortlessly carry a different quality than forced networking interactions. There's immediate rapport, natural chemistry, and mutual recognition that happens at a level deeper than personality. This is soul-level networking. Connections forming because the spirits involved recognize each other as allies, collaborators, or catalysts for each other's growth. These connections tend to be more durable and more fruitful than connections built on surface-level compatibility. The situations and people vanishing before they can distract you represent divine intervention, operating as automatic course correction. You're being protected from detours you can't yet see as detours. That meeting that cancelled would have introduced you to someone who seemed helpful, but would have eventually wasted months of your time. That invitation that fell through would have placed you in an environment that looked attractive, but was actually toxic. That opportunity that evaporated would have locked you into a commitment that blocked something better from reaching you. This protection protocol functions without your conscious management. You don't have to analyze every opportunity to determine if it's a distraction. Your higher self, operating with broader perspective than your conscious mind possesses, is running interference for you. It's declining invitations you don't realize should be declined. It's closing doors you might have tried to force open. It's redirecting you away from paths that lead nowhere productive, even when those paths look appealing from your current vantage point. What matches your frequency is expanding rapidly. Projects that align with your truth are unfolding faster than expected. Ideas are growing with fewer complications. Relationships built on genuine respect are deepening naturally. Everything that resonates with who you've become is accelerating, while everything that doesn't is falling away effortlessly. This isn't you forcing things. It's alignment expressing itself as momentum. When your path truly fits you, you don't have to push doors open. They swing wide before you reach them. You don't have to convince people of your value. They recognize it immediately. You don't have to prove yourself. Your energy does that without words. Your decision-making is faster too. You feel what fits without needing to analyze it for weeks. You sense what's wrong before seeing evidence. Your internal compass has become so reliable that hesitation feels foreign. You know the answer before you finish asking the question. Where acceleration used to feel overwhelming, it now feels natural. You're not adjusting to momentum. You're moving with it. The speed doesn't intimidate you because you understand that rapid movement and alignment aren't opposites. They're partners. Let's break down what's actually happening. When things aligned with your truth start expanding rapidly. This isn't luck or coincidence, it's physics. When your internal frequency matches the frequency of a project, relationship, or opportunity, there's no resistance between you and it. Without resistance, growth happens at its natural maximum speed. It's like the difference between running with wind at your back versus running into headwind. The effort you expend is the same, but the speed you achieve is dramatically different. Projects that align with your truth carry their own momentum, because they're not just your energy pushing them forward. They're also drawing energy from the collective field. When something is true for you, it's usually true for others as well. So, as you build it, people who need it start sensing its emergence and moving toward it. You're not building in a vacuum. You're building in response to a need that's already generating its own pull. Ideas growing with fewer complications isn't because you got better at execution, though you probably did. It's because ideas that truly align with your path encounter less universal resistance. The universe doesn't place obstacles in the path of things meant to exist. Complications arise when we're forcing something that doesn't fit, trying to make something work that's not meant for us, or pushing against the natural flow. When you're truly aligned, the path clears itself because you're moving in the direction the universe was already guiding you. Relationships deepening naturally without effort, signals that you're connecting with people at a soul level rather than just a personality level. Soul-level connections don't require maintenance the way personality-level connections do. They don't need constant check-ins, elaborate gestures, or careful management. They sustain themselves through energetic resonance. You can go months without speaking and reconnect as if no time passed. This happens because the connection exists in a dimension where time and space function differently. The ease you're experiencing isn't about things becoming easy. It's about you becoming aligned. When you're aligned with your path, your gifts, your purpose, and your truth, resistance decreases not because obstacles disappear, but because you're no longer generating internal resistance. Most struggle comes from internal conflict between what we want and what we think we should want, between who we are and who we think we should be. When that internal conflict resolves, external movement becomes fluid. Your accelerated decision-making represents the maturation of your intuitive faculty. You've trained it through repeated use during those difficult seasons. Every time you trusted a gut feeling that turned out correct, you strengthened your intuitive muscle. Every time you ignored your instinct and regretted it, you learned to honor your inner knowing. Now that muscle is strong enough that insights arrive quickly and clearly. You don't need weeks of analysis because your subconscious processes information faster than your conscious mind ever could and delivers conclusions as instant knowing. This rapid intuition protects you from analysis paralysis, the trap of overthinking yourself out of aligned action. When you know what's right quickly, you can move quickly. This speed advantage compounds over time, because while others are still analyzing whether to take step 1, you've already taken steps 1 through 5 and adjusted based on the feedback those steps provided. The shift from feeling overwhelmed by acceleration to feeling natural about it represents a consciousness upgrade. You've expanded your capacity to handle rapid change. What would have stressed your previous self feels normal to your current self because your nervous system has adapted. This adaptation happened through exposure. You navigated enough uncertainty, processed enough change, and weathered enough unexpected developments that your system learned rapid change is survivable. Now, instead of triggering fight or flight responses, acceleration triggers curious engagement. This is crucial because what's coming in your next chapter involves even more acceleration. Opportunities will appear faster. Decisions will need to be made more quickly. Changes will happen more frequently. If you hadn't developed the capacity to handle speed, the incoming blessings would overwhelm your system. But because you've trained at handling rapid change, you're prepared to catch what's being thrown your way without dropping anything important. Your presence now changes rooms without you trying. When you walk into a space, the atmosphere shifts before anyone speaks. Conversations adjust, tension dissolves, clarity settles, or sometimes hidden discomfort rises to the surface. Your energy doesn't just fill the room, it reorganizes it. People respond to you differently now. Some straighten up in your presence, some soften, some become more honest without knowing why. You're not trying to create this effect. Your internal alignment is strong enough that it influences your environment automatically. This draws people to you in ways you didn't experience before, not because they want something from you, because your growth reminds them of possibilities they forgot they had. Your journey awakens dormant dreams in others. Your transformation becomes a mirror showing them what's still possible for their own lives. You've become a reference point, proof that breakthrough is real, evidence that someone stuck can start moving again. Your presence disrupts stagnation in others, not through words, but through being. Without trying, you introduce motion where there was standstill, possibility where there was resignation. People seek your perspective now, even when you haven't positioned yourself as an authority. They trust your insight, not because you have all the answers, but because something in your energy feels grounded. Even simple statements from you carry weight. Even brief comments leave lasting impact. It's not about what you say, it's about the frequency from which you speak. Let's explore what's actually happening when you enter a room and the energy shifts. Your presence isn't just your physical body occupying space, it's your energetic field interacting with the field already established in that space. Your field, having become more coherent and powerful through your journey, doesn't simply blend into the existing field. It influences it, restructures it, sometimes even dominates it, depending on the strength of what was there before you arrived. When tension dissolves in your presence, it's not because you said something calming or did something to diffuse conflict. It's because your field carries a frequency of resolution that's stronger than the frequency of tension. Lower frequency states, like anxiety, conflict, or confusion, naturally shift toward higher frequency states, like peace, clarity, or understanding. When a strong, higher frequency source enters the space, you've become that source. When clarity settles, it's because your presence raises the vibrational floor of the space. Confusion exists at lower frequencies where signal gets distorted. Your field acts like a signal booster, strengthening the coherent signal and reducing the noise. People in that space suddenly find it easier to think clearly, not because you told them what to think, but because the environment you've created with your presence supports clearer thinking. When hidden discomfort rises to the surface, you're witnessing a different phenomenon. Your presence exposes what was being suppressed. If there's unresolved conflict in the room that people were avoiding, your field won't let it hide. If there's dishonesty being maintained, your energy makes maintaining that dishonesty more difficult. You're not forcing exposure. Your refined field simply doesn't support distortion. Truth finds it easier to emerge when you're present. People straightening up, softening, or becoming more honest in your presence are all responding to the same thing. Your energy communicates standards without words. It broadcasts integrity, authenticity, and groundedness so clearly that people automatically adjust to match it. This isn't conscious on their part. It's instinctive. They sense they're in the presence of someone operating from a different level, and they naturally try to rise to meet it. The way your growth awakens dormant dreams in others happens through a process called resonance. When they're near you, they feel echoes of the journey you've walked. Even if they don't know your story, they sense the transformation you've undergone because it's radiating from you. That sensing activates corresponding possibilities within them. Dreams they abandoned, goals they surrendered, potential they forgot they possessed. Your transformation permission slips their own. You've become living proof that change is possible, and living proof is infinitely more powerful than theoretical possibility. Someone can hear 1,000 motivational speeches about transformation and remain unconvinced, but when they stand next to someone who embodies transformation, their doubt dissolves. Your existence becomes the argument that transcends all counter-arguments. The trust people place in your perspective comes from recognizing wisdom rather than knowledge in your words. Wisdom isn't about having memorized answers. It's about having processed experience into understanding. People sense that your insights come from lived experience rather than intellectual exercise, and lived experience carries an authority that intellectual knowledge never achieves. When you speak about struggle, success, betrayal, or breakthrough, they hear truth that's been tested, not theory that sounds good. Your influence operates at depths you don't consciously manage. When people leave interactions with you, they often think about the conversation differently than they expected to. Something you said, maybe something simple, sticks with them and grows in significance over the following days. They find themselves returning to it, discovering new layers they didn't catch initially. This happens because your words carry embedded energy that continues working after the conversation ends. This growing influence doesn't require you to build a platform, amass followers, or position yourself as an expert. It operates through direct transmission from your field to the fields of people you encounter. One meaningful interaction with you can shift someone's entire trajectory because energy transfers at the point of contact. They walk away carrying a frequency they didn't have before meeting you, and that frequency influences their subsequent decisions, perceptions, and possibilities. What's coming carries enhancements you didn't request. The blessings approaching you now aren't simple replacements. They arrive carrying layers you never thought to ask for. Details so precise they feel custom designed for the empty spaces you've carried. They don't just fill what was missing. They complete what was always meant to be whole. Emotional steadiness is coming with these returns, not the kind that fluctuates with circumstances, but the kind that stays solid regardless. A calm is settling inside you that can't be bought or stolen. It feels like dust finally settling after years of chaos. You didn't pray for peace as loudly as you prayed for breakthrough, but peace is arriving first, wrapping itself around everything else coming your way. The abundance entering your life now has structure. It's not fleeting or fragile. It arrives built to last because you've become someone who lasts. Every piece fits with the next piece, forming something stable enough to expand without breaking. This isn't temporary blessing that evaporates under pressure. This is foundation-level abundance designed to support everything you're meant to build next. There will be moments when outcomes feel so perfectly aligned that they soften memories you thought would always sting. New experiences will overshadow old pain, not by erasing it, but by outgrowing it. The returns landing in your life now have a way of touching the exact places that were bruised, replacing ache with something that fits so naturally, you'll forget how empty those spaces once felt. Let's get specific about what these enhanced blessings actually look like. When that financial breakthrough comes, it won't just be the amount you needed. It will include buffer beyond your need, resources to help others, and seed money for opportunities you haven't encountered yet. The universe isn't delivering just enough. It's delivering more than enough, because it knows that your expanded consciousness can handle surplus without corruption. When relationship restoration comes, you're not just getting apologies or reconnections. You're getting relationships that have evolved through separation, where both parties have grown, where the reconnection happens at a higher level than the original connection existed, or you're getting entirely new relationships that carry none of the baggage of the old ones, but all of the depth, understanding, and compatibility you always wanted. When career advancement arrives, it's not just a promotion or new job. It's positioning that puts you in rooms you couldn't have accessed before, connecting you with people whose networks multiply your impact, and providing platforms that amplify your voice beyond anything your previous position allowed. The advancement carries authority, autonomy, and influence that accelerate every other area of your growth. The emotional steadiness arriving with these blessings is perhaps the most valuable component because it creates internal climate control for your life. External circumstances will still fluctuate. That's life. But your internal state remains stable through those fluctuations. This means you can enjoy success without arrogance and endure setbacks without despair. You maintain equilibrium through peaks and valleys because your emotional foundation has been fortified beyond what most people ever develop. This peace that's arriving ahead of breakthrough serves a specific purpose. It prepares you to handle breakthrough without being destabilized by it. Many people pray for massive breakthrough without realizing that massive breakthrough without internal stability leads to self-destruction. Sudden wealth corrupts those who lack financial wisdom. Rapid success inflates those who lack humility. Quick advancement overwhelms those who lack competence. But peace arriving first creates the container that can hold whatever comes next without cracking. The structured nature of this abundance matters because unstructured abundance disappears as quickly as it arrives. When money comes, without financial literacy accompanying it, it gets spent foolishly. When opportunities come without strategic thinking supporting them, they get wasted. When success comes without character backing it up, it creates problems. But the abundance coming to you now arrives with its own instruction manual. You're receiving not just resources, but wisdom about how to steward resources, not just opportunities, but discernment about which opportunities to pursue, not just success, but maturity to handle success appropriately. These perfectly aligned outcomes that soften old wounds are doing more than emotional healing. They're rewriting your story. When you experience betrayal, that event becomes part of your narrative, coloring how you see yourself and your possibilities. But when restoration comes in a form so complete that it supersedes the original wound, it changes what the wound means. The betrayal that once defined you as a victim becomes the setup for a comeback that defines you as victorious. The story changes not by erasing the past, but by adding chapters that transform its meaning. The scale of return doesn't follow human logic. The magnitude of what's coming doesn't match what was taken. It exceeds it in ways that stretch beyond simple math. Timing doesn't follow ordinary patterns. The way things are converging has no logical explanation. Events are aligning that have no reason to align. Opportunities are forming that have no clear origin. Doors are opening that had no hinges a moment earlier. This is the divine signature on your season. Blessings multiplying as they approach you. One opportunity opens into several. One connection leads to another with even greater impact. What appears small at first grows rapidly, revealing layers you didn't see initially. The blessings themselves seem alive, expanding their reach, stretching their capacity, unfolding into places you hadn't anticipated. This isn't just abundance, it's abundance in motion, self-replicating, compounding, building on itself with mathematical precision that defies ordinary calculation. When these returns arrive, there's a sense of recognition inside you. Not familiarity, but knowing. Like your spirit has been expecting these outcomes longer than your mind has. When they appear, something exhales inside you. A quiet acknowledgement that says, "This was always meant for me." These aren't random gains. They match your shape. They match your growth. They match the person you've become. Even the surprises carry inevitability, as if these blessings were simply waiting for the moment you could hold them properly. Let's talk about the divine mathematics operating in your return. When the universe calculates what you're owed, it doesn't use simple arithmetic. It uses exponential equations. If you lost one opportunity, you're not getting back one opportunity. You're getting back one opportunity that opens into three more, each of which contains elements of the original plus improvements based on your growth since the loss occurred. If you were denied recognition, you're not getting back the same recognition you were denied. You're getting recognition from sources more prestigious than the original, delivered to audiences larger than you initially would have reached, creating opportunities more valuable than the first acknowledgement would have provided. The return exceeds the loss not just in quantity, but in quality and timing. If trust was broken, you're not getting back the same relationship repaired. You're getting new relationships where trust is foundational rather than fragile, where loyalty is proven rather than promised, where integrity is demonstrated rather than declared. These new connections carry none of the damage from old betrayals, but all of the depth you would have eventually built in the old relationship if it had been authentic. The timing of these returns defies normal patterns because divine timing operates on ripeness rather than schedule. Things appear when all factors align to produce maximum impact, not when your calendar says they should appear. That job offer arrives exactly when you've developed the skills to excel in the position, plus the confidence to negotiate properly. That financial breakthrough appears exactly when you've learned to manage money wisely, plus identified opportunities worth investing in. The timing seems magical because it accounts for variables you weren't consciously tracking. Events that have no reason to align are aligning because your frequency is creating coherence in your environment. When you're internally aligned, your external reality begins reflecting that alignment through synchronicities that seem to defy probability. You randomly run into exactly the person who knows exactly the person you need to meet. You stumble across information that directly addresses a question you had yesterday. You receive unexpected invitations to events where deals you weren't pursuing find you. These aren't coincidences. They're your refined frequency organizing reality in your favor. The multiplication factor in your blessings happens through a compound interest effect. Each blessing that arrives creates conditions for more blessings to follow. The financial breakthrough provides resources to invest in opportunities that generate more resources. The key relationship introduces you to other valuable relationships who introduce you to others. The recognition raises your profile, which attracts more opportunities, which raise your profile higher. One blessing becomes the seed that grows a tree that produces fruit that contains more seeds. This self-replicating abundance is what distinguishes divine restoration from human compensation. When humans try to make things right, they replace what was taken. When the divine makes things right, it doesn't just replace, it multiplies, compounds, and creates ongoing generation of blessings that continue long after the initial restoration. You're not just being repaid for what was stolen. You're being positioned to prosper beyond anything the theft interrupted. The tenfold payback is already moving. You feel it in your bones. That whisper you've been hearing wasn't imagination. It was intuition, picking up on shifts, happening in realms you can't see yet. The cosmic ledger has turned. The scales are tipping. The divine payback carrying your name isn't a promise for someday. It's a reality unfolding right now. What was stolen is being returned upgraded. What was blocked is breaking through with force. What was delayed is accelerating beyond normal speed. What was taken with malice is being restored with intention. The multiplication isn't symbolic, it's literal. Opportunities times 10. Resources times 10. Connections times 10. Impact times 10. This isn't about revenge, it's about balance. The universe correcting an imbalance that became impossible to overlook. While others face the weight of what they created, you're stepping into the fullness of what you've earned. The silent seasons prepared you. The closed doors trained you. The betrayals refined you. The isolation sharpened you. None of it was wasted. Every moment built capacity you now carry. And that capacity is about to be filled in ways that confirm everything you sensed was coming. The shift isn't approaching. It's here. You're standing in it right now. The payback isn't being calculated, it's being delivered. What felt like a far-off promise is now present reality. The blessings aren't gathering, they're landing. You can feel it in the way opportunities are appearing without you chasing them, in the way obstacles are dissolving faster than they form, in the way clarity has replaced confusion, in the way your presence carries weight it didn't have before, in the way doors are opening that you didn't even knock on. The tenfold return isn't a metaphor, it's mathematics. Divine mathematics that doesn't follow earthly rules but produces earthly results. You're about to see it in your bank account, your relationships, your opportunities, your peace, your influence, your momentum, and your joy. Everything stolen from you is circling back multiplied. Everything blocked is breaking through enhanced. Everything denied is being granted with overflow. Everything taken is being restored with interest. The divine payback isn't coming. Chosen one, it's here. Your tenfold restoration has begun, and there's nothing that can stop what the universe has already set in motion for you. This is your moment. This is your season. This is your payback.